Hej hej! Nu ska vi gå vidare här och vi har nytt bolag på scen, Enzymatica och vd Claus Egstrand. Välkommen!
Tack ska du ha.
Det är bara att köra igång, jag kommer tillbaka sen med frågor.
Tack ska du ha. Jag hör ni mig bra? Ja. I'm chosen to do it in English, it's a little more comfortable. But I'm happy to take any questions and reply in Swedish. So I'm here today to give you an update where the company today and why we still believe this is a very exciting company in which to invest and continue to invest. First, I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been the CEO since September of 2021, and I've helped the company since 2017 in different roles. The point of all the different roles of fancy companies like Pfizer, Hologic, J&J, Merck, is just to illustrate that two things. A, I have a broad background that I think can help the company, but more importantly, it begs the question, what am I doing here and why am I so excited about being here and being here for so long? And I want to share that with you moving forward. That worked. The company has been around for quite a while, and we've had a bit of a rocky road. Everything looked great at the end of 2020, and we'll talk about that and where are we now and where we're going, because that's important. But in essence, the company is built on one company called Zyme, and it's a very exciting product that's today in now 30 markets. I brought some different packs here today that I will talk to you about in a second. This, I think you might have heard about, is Viral Protect. That was our first international launch. We started Germany in 2017. That has been expanded to lots of other markets. Today, we're also going to introduce these two new market launches to you. The Bisolveral is Sanofi in Turkey. And then we've also launched the product in Mexico under Sanofi, and I'll talk to you about how's the product going and more importantly, what does Sanofi feel about the product launches, and I'm going to share 2 TV ads with you. The one thing that I know is talked about in Sweden from time to time is how strong is the regulatory package? What does MDR mean? What I want you to take away from this slide is we're classified as a medical device class 3. We're the only product in Europe that has that classification, which speaks volumes to the regulatory data, the quality data, the clinical data, the safety data. So the regulatory package is very strong, which is why the likes of Sanofi and Stada, that are very big companies, have actually put their name on these boxes. So the scrutiny to get these products on the market under their company names is quite a significant achievement. Now, importantly, I want to share with you in 3 quick points why this is a great brand and a company in which to invest. And we all remember things easier with just remembering 3 things. So if I can ask you to remember 3 things for why to invest in Enzymatica, we have a groundbreaking product. I'll talk to you about that in some detail. Most importantly is that we know from market research in Sweden, in Germany, in Poland and Italy, that once consumers have tried the product, they find that it works, and 88% of consumers that have tried the product will try it again within 12 months. 88%. I worked in all the big consumer healthcare companies in the world, and there's only one product that's similar to that in terms of repurchase rate, and that's a product from J&J that's called Imodium that works against diarrhea, and the product better work. So a groundbreaking product, and a groundbreaking product that still has a long way to go. The market is very big. We've only just scratched the surface. The total market is about $20 billion US dollars, and we'll talk to that in a second. And then we have a very scalable business model. We do very little internally. So we do the marketing in Sweden to make sure we optimize success. Then we build the regulatory package, the clinical data, and then we focus on understanding what the consumers really want and what the consumers want in a changing landscape, and we share that with our partners. Our partners, once we've convinced them of the product and the opportunity for success, then do all the sales and marketing expenses. We don't do that. So it's a very scalable model. We just got to get the product out to more markets. I will now go through each of these 3 points. But before that, I just want to remind ourselves where we actually were. So we were very, very happy when we were climbing Mount Everest. So at the end of 2020, everything was in very good shape. We had signed agreements with Sanofi for distribution rights, marketing rights for Italy and France. They launched it successfully. And we signed additional markets with STADA. Now, what then happened was market shut down. It seems like a long time ago. It probably was a long time ago, and it was different in other parts of the world than in Sweden. People were actually locked down. I lived in the UK. You couldn't go out unless you wanted to walk the dog. You couldn't go for a run. Social distancing, mask wearing, and everything else. And what invariably happens, the cold viruses and flu viruses disappeared, and the cold seasons disappeared. That's bad in itself. The other thing that was not so good was all our partners against the curve and the expectations of sales had bought stock in to fill into the pharmacy. That's why we're seeing a slight pickup at the end here, because we're burning through that inventory, and we're seeing that the cold season is back, which is why we feel very positive about the future and our financial goals. Now, why is Cholzyme a groundbreaking product? Well, 2 things. We have a barrier, a patented barrier, that contains trypsin. That's good for us to know. It's good for commercial reasons. The consumers are less interested in whether it's patented and whether it's trypsin in it or not. They just want to know that the product works. And what they now know is that it works because it actually blocks viruses from sticking, so you're less likely to get a cold. And then we're having some exciting in vitro results from various studies. The latest one for the Medical University of Innsbruck that speaks to the fact that this actually has the potential to also work against the Omicron virus. But we have demonstrated in vitro that it works in 11 different upper respiratory viruses. Now, this is excuse me. This is exciting in that if you look at the cold and flu market in itself, pre-pandemic, it was worth $20 billion in the markets just on this list. Then there's different color codes. So, but if we go from right to left, you see that little yellow block there. That's our sales in Sweden. Or that's the size of the market in Sweden. Look how much bigger all these other markets are compared to Sweden. And we've launched in Poland, and we've launched in Italy, and we've launched with success or similar success, or a third about Sweden's success. We are in the UK, we're in Germany. We're going through a registration process, thankfully, finally, in Japan and China. Because what we have to remember, we filed, we made the agreements, and when the country shut down, and includes the government agencies, and nobody's looking at the regulatory packages. But people are looking at the regulatory packages today in Japan and China, and it's starting to look very positive. So a big opportunity here. If you do the simple math, market share in Sweden, 4.5%. If we were to replicate that success in these markets, including the US eventually, 4.5% or $20 billion is $9 million, which is a lot of sales. So there's plenty of road to grow. Now, we will never grow that as a small company in Sweden, no matter how many new rights issues and everything you do, unless we have very strong relationships with strong partners that can market the product successfully in the markets. So in China, we have a partnership that was announced a long time ago with the largest consumer healthcare company in China. They are now looking at getting the filing going again. We're with the second largest consumer healthcare company in Japan, and they're looking at the filing. Again, one market is slightly ahead of the other, but we're making traction, which is good. And then more importantly, all of these partners of ours have had tough times in the pandemic. It's good when we actually launch in new markets, which is Mexico, Aktiedagen, and presenterar in Turkey. I'll now show you the ads to consumers from those two countries.
No importa si invitaron a toda la familia. Cuando lo primero que haces es usar tu Aderogil Prevent. Prevent crea una barrera protectora en tu garganta que atrapa e inhabilita a los virus, protegiéndote de enfermedades respiratorias.
Yo salgo tranquila, protegiéndome con Prevent.
Efectivo contra la familia de los coronavirus que causan enfermedades respiratorias.
I don't know if there's a way for us to share this video after the meeting, so you have it. It's still not up on our homepage and stuff, which is sort of not very good, but it's not. But if we know who would have an interest in getting a copy after the meeting, please let the moderator know, and you can look at it at your leisure. Then we have Turkey.
Bisol viralle önleminizi alın. Soğuk algınlığı virüslerinin sizi durdurmasına, keyfinizi kaçırmasına, işinize engel olmasına izin vermeyin. Bisol viral ağız spreyi ile soğuk algınlığı virüslerini hapsedin, etkisiz hale getirin ve onlardan korunun. Bisol viralle soğuk algınlığı virüslerine dur deyin.
Now, what's important, again, to underscore the quality of the product and the quality of the regulatory package. This is not a new trademark. It's called Bisolvon. It's one of the biggest brands that Sanofi has across the world. They have enough faith and confidence in our product to put it under their trademark. This is Aktiedagen, largest brand in Mexico for Sanofi, a local brand, very strong against immune deficiency, protection against cold. Again, same level of confidence in putting the trademark of our product under their trademark. And what's good is that the early success in these two markets are actually getting more interest from Sanofi in other markets, and hopefully there'll be more to follow. So in closing, knowing that it's the end of this presentation, and any questions you may have is all that keeps you from going to lunch. So in the right-hand box, we feel very confident still and never wavered about achieving our financial goals of more than 600 million SEK by the end of 2026 and an EBIT margin of 28%, because we have a groundbreaking product that 88% of consumers say they will buy again once they've tried it. The global market is big, virtually untapped, and we have a very scalable business model working with some strong consumer healthcare partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claus. Jag vill påminna om att man kan skicka in frågor om man har det till Claus. I have two questions from the audience.
Okay.
Maybe I should start off with that. There's someone who is asking what happened to the company during the COVID, and I think you showed it with the graph that sales were lower.
It was tough. I worked in many companies before, but I think we would have been we could be very grateful for some demanding shareholders and major shareholders that continue to believe in the product, because that was not easy. But we weathered the storm, and what we've actually done, we've made sure to invest and continue to invest in the foundations of the company. So you will have seen that we started a study at the University of Kent to get some in vivo data on the product. And we have continued to invest to make sure that we have filed for MDR. So there's been an undercurrent of all medical devices, so they're going to get the product up to the level of classification it needs to be. And we're very proud that we've already filed. So that's not a risk to the business.
Do you think, I mean, of course, when COVID came, nobody got
A cold.
a cold. Or did we get a cold? We didn't want to treat it because we I guess so. At least
that is. Sorry to cut across. I always do that. Let me finish your question.
No, but I mean, do you think that will come back, or has people like myself got used to that? Now I get a cold. There is nothing to do. Just take it easy, and we'll pass.
I think it has changed over time. So in the beginning, it was very clear that people did not want to present themselves with a cold. So even if you had a cold, you didn't really want to buy a cold product, at least take it publicly, because I'm now carrying something I shouldn't be carrying and that I shouldn't share. It's equally clear that from different countries that people have not wanted to wear a face mask. But similarly, that's a signal that why is he or she wearing a face mask. What we are seeing is that the cold and flu treatments bought in pharmacy are increasing, the sales are increasing. So it has sort of normalized. And what we've seen in Mexico and Turkey is that the product and the product proposition is still more relevant than before, and the sales are very successful. Now what we have to do is to make sure that the partners that bought into the category with new product launches at the end of 20, we work with them to work down their inventory so they can order product again, and that's what we're going through.
I have another question, and that's if you have developed anything connected to the COVID.
The short answer to that is no. Now, one of the things that we may not all know, but even a medical device today, if it could claim anything against COVID, it would be taken off the market, because it's not been proven in vivo to do anything but COVID. And then what's called the notified bodies, or the health authorities, were very vigilant in the start of the pandemic to say there was no other way than a vaccine. So any claims that sort of gave people or consumers a different option got shut down very quick. So the short answer to the question is no. And it's difficult. We hope to eventually show that what the Medical University of Innsbruck showed in vitro will prove itself out in vivo, and then it becomes a question of what happens next. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I think you have some aggressive targets for 2026.
Yes.
More ambitious, you may call it. And you will be a very profitable company if you reach your target
Yes.
with high margins.
Yes.
What to expect as a shareholder and interest in Enzymatica? Will you start to pay dividends, or do you need to widen your base for income, or what is the strategy in the more midterm?
So we have some you as shareholders and some long-term investors in the business that very much would like us to break even and then start acting like any proper listed company, start paying dividends. Without putting words in the board, that will be the goal. Then the follow-up question will be, when do you think that you will break even? We know what the break-even number is, and it will really depend on how quickly we pick up sales and how quickly some of the registration processes takes place. Yeah. It's not in 2026, and it's not in Q2 2023. But it really depends on. We're not in 100% control, because a lot of it is depending on the partners and the partner collaboration. And I will say that it's much more helpful now that we can get on planes and meet people, starting relationships like we did in some markets without ever having met the people and educating them with the product. It's a tough way to start a relationship. So we're flying a little bit more than maybe we should for a lot of reasons, but we got to get out and meet people.
Yeah, I understand. We have a question also from the audience when it comes to your partnerships.
Yeah.
How is that actually working out? Are you getting paid like a royalty, or how is that?
That's a very good question. The question has been asked, why can't we have a different model? But the simple model we have today is that we sell to the partners at a price. So we sell to a starter or Sanofi at a supply price from us to them for 20 ml. That's different than 7 ml. And then we have negotiations on that supply price. Does that give them enough margin to invest in the business? So it's as simple as that. What I think what will happen, and it's a very good question on the royalty, when we get to markets further afield and we start working with the Chinese company or the big Japanese company, they may actually say, you know what, we have a factory. Why don't we buy a line? And we make the product on our line, and you don't have to use Recipharm, and we do a different model.
Yeah.
And that's where the royalty will come in. But such discussions have not been had yet.
No. So still you will produce?
So far we're still producing, yeah.
Yeah, and you think you will, I mean, I guess it's important for your future negotiations that they sell good,
Yes.
Sanofi and...
Yes, and it's, I mean, success breeds success. And it's a lot easier to sit down with China now and Japan now and say, by the way, we just launched these two markets, Turkey and Mexico, and look what happens when you launch. So a lot of otherwise everything gets muddied by, it went like this and then it went like that. Now you're going to turn that around. There are two different dynamics. How do you get out of that versus starting from scratch? If you're starting from scratch, you never live the up and down.
Okay, Claus, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Time flies, so we don't have any time for more questions.
No, that's fine, but anytime.